So the question I'm asking myself today is, if I was locked in a windowless concrete cell, and whoever put me there told me that I had to watch one movie for the rest of my natural life, and they gave me a choice between the brand new 2023 Super Mario Bros. Movie or its hunchback twin living under the stairs, the 1993 version, what one do I choose? Well, I'm going to cut to the chase really quick here. I choose the 1993 Mario, which can't be good, right? Because the only thing that's remembered about this movie is that it was so legendarily bad that it ruined video game movies or the chance of them being made probably for 20 years, something like that. But before we begin this deep dive, let's do a quick overview of the history of the Super Mario video game franchise. It is the jewel in Nintendo's crown. It is the gold standard. 90% of the catalog are basically considered immortal classics, and the formula has been unchanged for 40 years. Creative, super responsive gameplay mixed with colorful and pleasing visuals. There's never been a story to speak of, but you don't need a story when the gameplay is this good. And to this day, there's still a ton of hardcore speedrunners running Mario games, Super Mario 64, because the gameplay and the world have that much depth.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I just got a 1435!
Now, comparing these movies is really difficult because outside of the names Mario, Yoshi, and Luigi appearing in the script, they are so fundamentally, insanely, ridiculously different from each other, there really is no comparison. So the best I can do is stick them up next to each other and talk about them. And first, let's address the new kid on the block. The 2023 Super Mario Bros. Movie, the movie we were all waiting for, we were all excited about. And speaking of the history of video games, this may be the most faithful adaptation of any video game movie ever made. But therein lies the major problem. The entire movie takes place in this colorful, creative, and pleasing universe just like the video games, but unfortunately, just like the games, it's barely held together by a non-existent story. Quite frankly, the whole thing feels like it was written in 10 seconds by ChatGTP, and it probably was. The major issue is we have removed the incredible gameplay from the Mario games, and so we're simply left with the visuals. And that alone cannot hold a movie up. It's like an empty, sugary stick of cotton candy. There's no nutritional value. Whereas the 1993 version is an injection of heroin shot straight into your eyeballs, for the first 40 minutes at least, and that also has no nutritional value, but man, I will take the heroin over the cotton candy any day. So, spoiler alert, but let's do a basic run-through of the 2023 Super Mario Bros. Movie. This synopsis might go kind of quick, but that's the point. There's not really much to say here. So Mario and his brother Luigi are like creepy, animated, 40-year-old looking mustachioed men, and they live with their parents in Brooklyn. So they're basically millennials. They just spent their life savings on a commercial for their own plumbing business, and meanwhile, Dad is berating them for giving up a steady job to follow their dreams. Unbeknownst to the makers of this film, this is actually a super deep cut, where you have a boomer father saying the kids should just work hard because the dad is blissfully unaware that times have changed, baby, and Mario and Luigi wouldn't be able to rent a couch in New York doing regular jobs. So the Mario brothers get their first big call for their new job, and we spend the next 20 minutes dicking around, and they're doing kooky hijinks in someone's bathroom, and there are tons of video game sound effects and references and callbacks and member berries and Easter eggs, and believe me, this is not the last time I'm going to talk about this. Next scene, some more stuff happens, and Brooklyn is flooding, so they go save the town, and they get sucked down a magical pipe. And as of now, this is generally following the 1993 movie, just worse, and there's no substance to it. But here's where things are really going to change up. The brothers get separated as they fall into the magical Mushroom Kingdom, and Luigi basically disappears for the rest of the movie outside of one short cameo, which is giving yet another shout out to the Luigi's Mansion series. Luigi, I should mention, plays the damsel in distress in this movie, or aka the Princess Peach, because of course Princess Peach in this movie had to be modernized and politically corrected to remove problematic things like insecurity or doubt or just character traits in general. So Mario lands in the beautiful Mushroom Kingdom and meets Toad, voiced by Michael Keegan, and we spend about another 15 minutes with them soaking up more nostalgia and member berries and sound effects, and then Toad takes him to meet Princess Peach. As I just mentioned, she's an invaluable girl boss, but, you know, we're like 10 years deep into this now, so quite frankly, it's not even worth complaining that much about anymore. It just is what it is. So we cut to Bowser. Bowser is the big evil big bad. He wants to take over the Mushroom Kingdom and marry Peach because we don't know. The movie isn't worried about trying to make the plot comprehensible, but in that sense, I guess it's very faithful to the source material. Peach needs Mario's help because her thousands of toads are totally useless, so she sets up this memberberry obstacle course, which is straight from Mario Maker, and we spend the next 5 hours watching Mario fail the course over and over. And during this whole sequence, Bonnie Tyler's I Need a Hero is playing, because ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, every modern blockbuster must now include retro songs during its slow-motion sequences. It feels totally out of place. I just don't understand it, because God knows there must be hundreds and hundreds of hours of far better actual Mario video game soundtrack to draw from. The sequence goes on so long, in fact, that we cut over to Bowser for probably the best scene in the movie, where he plays the piano and riffs and screams out nonsensically, "Peaches, peaches!" But really, that's just Jack Black being Jack Black. That's why the scene's great. I should mention here that we're literally about halfway through the movie, and nothing at this point has been memorable or interesting. But because we're at the middle of the movie, we have to have our requisite character-establishing scene, where Peach and Mario sit under a tree and meander on about each other's past for a while. The hack writers of this movie hope you don't notice that nothing of any actual substance is said, because they learned that a scene like this is really important in that script writing class they took like 2 weeks ago. Man, these scenes in modern movies have become so poorly executed, you can just smell them within 10 seconds of the scene starting. I like to call these Rogue One scenes. So after we check that box, the platonic buddies Mario and Peach go off to the Kong Kingdom to ask King Kong for help. Donkey Kong. And for another 20 minutes, we get callbacks and game references and misplaced 80s music as they drive around the city. And then Mario fights Donkey Kong in a Super Smash Bros. Reference scene. And finally, we probably have the only good and memorable thing that happens in this movie, outside of Jack Black singing, which is they all go off and have this giant Mario Kart battle, a la Mad Max style. And I will say this, the energy, visuals, and enthusiasm here are so good that for just a moment, it completely carries your attention. But then the 5 minutes ends. So they go here and they go there, and some more stuff happens, and there's some explosions, and they fight Bowser, and then the movie ends, and they say some hollow emotional payoffs to each other. I can't even bother to finish summarizing it. That's the problem. You know, the best and most memorable children's movies are the best and are classics because they combine this childhood whimsy with real problems and real emotions. They make a compelling story. They're not afraid to dabble in adult themes like death, isolation, violence, loss. And a young child can and will process this stuff, and that's what makes for impactful childhood memories. A convenient byproduct, by the way, is it also makes it accessible and entertaining for adults as well. But in the case of Mario 2023, none of these things are present. They play it as safe as you possibly can. And in the place of a good story, we have meta references, bad jokes, and nostalgia bait. I mean, the entire movie is member berries. I would need a dictionary in front of me full of every single soundtrack, reference, level, enemy, and sound effect of every Mario game in the past 30 years to fully appreciate what's been done here. And that in itself is really impressive, honestly, but the problem is that does not make for a good movie. Everyone here puts in a totally mediocre voice performance. For some reason, Mario and Luigi and Toad and Donkey Kong, to a lesser extent, basically sound the same. I think the best thing to come out of the voice work were the meme reactions when the cast was announced.
Mario's little brother,
What the
Luigi,
fuck?
will be played by Charlie Day.
What?
I'm excited for you to see this timid
He's
sibling
so
appear
funny.
on screen.
What the
Bowser
fuck?
will be played by the one and only Jack Black. I'm expecting a monster performance by Jackson. The comedian
What the
Keegan Michael
fuck?
Key will be playing Toad. I'm looking forward to great comedic moments. Even though this is a Mario movie, Donkey Kong will also be making an appearance. He will be played by...
I don't even know who the director is, and I don't think it matters. The only reason I would look him up is just to avoid that person in the future. But ultimately, I don't think the director had any control here either. The directions were passed down from the Nintendo overlords, and they seem to have been crystal clear. We don't want you to take any risks whatsoever. Just follow the Marvel formula, fill it with 100,000 Easter eggs, and call it a day. Cotton candy. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. Super Mario Bros., the real movie, 1993 edition, came out practically 30 years to the day. And I personally hadn't seen this movie for about 20 years. I couldn't remember anything. It was just kind of a general malaise in my head that I hadn't afforded any brain power to remembering. But let me tell you something, baby. I don't know what Hollywood has lost and how it has lost it, but the first 5 minutes alone of this masterpiece is more insane, thought-provoking, and mind-blowing than pretty much anything I've seen in the last few years, much less Mario 2023. We open with a dark and stormy night, and there's this raggedy-looking woman leaving a bundle on some church steps. Classic abandoned baby start, right? No. It's some kind of weird metal Superman-looking case, and she sticks a crystal into the top of it. The woman then disappears into the sewers, and the nuns come out and pick up the metal case. Batman Returns all over again. The nuns are huddling over this thing, and it opens up to reveal a giant alien egg unlike anything ever seen before on this earth. And not only that, the case looks to be constructed by some kind of advanced technology and has been specifically made to contain and protect this egg, which is building layers into our story. It's building mystery. And the head nun is like, "Ooh, I love giant eggs. I will be its mother." And the nun on the left is like, what is going on? Did I wander onto the wrong set? What is this? And then the egg hatches. And inside the egg is a human baby, and the nuns are all doing cross signs, and everyone watching, including myself, has just blown their minds. It's amazing. I could end the movie right now happy. And just when it couldn't get any better, for some reason Dennis Hopper is in the sewers dressed like Hitler, and the movie never references why he was wearing this outfit ever again. I mean, it's the best opening to a movie I've ever seen in my life. And now it's like, bam, 20 years later. Brooklyn, now. And for the next 40-something minutes, the hits never stop coming. This movie throws so much insane creativity and insanity at you, you simply don't have time to breathe or even consider if it's good or bad or not. I mean, you got plungers on the wall, creepy mafia dudes, archaeology, a cute love story, melting walls, psychopathic dystopian cyberpunk future, psychopathic muscle cars on tram rails, dinosaurs, giant Nazis with tiny heads, candle wax foreplay, Marge hair, plumber alert.
Plumber alert.
Old woman assaulting pedestrians, jump boots, plus-size black woman in tight red leather, very progressive I might add, spiral haircuts, harem of kidnapped sex slaves, station policeman with woman's spandex-clad leg on his shoulders, gun cameras, 12 monkeys prison boxes, tilt field haircuts, childhood nightmare-inducing lobotomy machines used on sentient humans, sentient fungus, projectile flamethrowers, alien plumbers. And during all of this genius, I'm watching and I'm hearing these blazing bassoons and horns in the background, and I'm thinking, ooh, I know who scored this masterpiece. Alan motherfucking Silvestri. That's right. Predator. Back to the Future. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? How can we lose at this point? So we're back in Brooklyn, 1993, book 1 of the Mario saga. Mario and Luigi have their own place because it's the 90s and the American government was still pretending to be a functioning democracy protecting the public good in those times. And just like the 2023 movie, they're kind of losers. Good character development here, by the way, Within 1 minute, we establish Mario as a pragmatist. He's trying to put food on the table, and Luigi is a dreamer who just watches unsolved mysteries all day. We cut to an archaeology dig site in Brooklyn, and who shows up? Creepy, oily mob boss to intimidate the cute dig site leader. May your first child be a dinosaur child. So after he casually threatens her life, we follow our heroine Daisy and find out she's being tailed by that dude from Hackers dressed like he just did a line of coke at the Roxbury, and some other guy. Sadly, this is the film's bumbling henchman duo that has been seen in kids' movies since the dawn of time, and the movie's much weaker for it. They represent the kiddie aspect of this film, which is a kind of overarching issue the film has in general, where it doesn't know what it wants to be. And considering the sheer awesome power of creativity we are working with here, how amazing would it have been if the studio had the balls to rate this PG-13, take out the kiddie stuff, and let's make an actual movie? Daisy runs into Mario and Luigi fixing their beater van in the middle of Brooklyn, and we're treated to a sweet little scene of Bob Hoskins playing wingman to Luigi, asking her out on a date. Sadly, Luigi is so helpless he has to go on a double date with Mario and his Guma, and he lets Daddy do all the talking a la Cyrano de Bergerac, because pretty much every time Luigi opens his mouth, it's painful for everyone watching. And we learn some nice stuff about Daisy. She's here in Brooklyn. She's hunting for dinosaur bones. She shyly reveals to the group that she was abandoned and raised by nuns. Didn't talk about the whole egg birth thing, but she probably figured out earlier in life that was kind of a conversation killer. And eventually Luigi gives her this weird rapey look. And the dinner ends, but he offers to walk her home, and Daisy shockingly seems to be into it. And we're treated to this super sweet scene of two young, attractive people being both shy and kind of slightly flirtatious. And it's beautiful, not only that Luigi, but Daisy displays bashfulness and insecurity.
That is weird.
I find it fascinating.
And I mean, you know what? If you just want to end this right now, I would understand.
I was going to ask you the same thing. If you want to end this right now and you feel bad about that, but you want to talk to somebody about it, you could call me.
You really think what I do is interesting?
Something that no modern female or non-white character is allowed to do now, despite the fact it's kind of essential, to make you care about the character. And we're feeling it watching this scene. They have some good chemistry. I'm in. So she invites Luigi in the middle of the night to come to her dinosaur dig site. And Luigi's into it because we established earlier he's into mysterious and weird stuff. But let's be honest, at this point, he would follow her into hell just to get a chance to clap them cheeks. And they're about to kiss, but no plot progression. Evil mobster plumbers have sabotaged the dig site. But as it so happens, Luigi's a plumber too, so he goes and gets Big Daddy Mario, and they are going to get the job done. And quite frankly, I'm so happy with this movie so far. I don't even need the supernatural science fiction Mushroom Kingdom aspects, outside of Daisy being born out of a dinosaur egg. In fact, how awesome would it be if this movie just followed on with this cute love story and never mentioned the egg again? But that is not to be. So Daisy gets kidnapped and sucked into some kind of magical quicksand wall. And don't forget I told you Luigi would follow her anywhere. So in he goes, and Mario, the eternal pragmatist, hesitates for a bit, but then finally realizes that Luigi would fuck up a cup of coffee without him, so he follows suit. And so, Book 2 of this epic saga begins. Mario goes subatomic and enters the quantum realm, where time and space have no meaning. Yes, is there anything that Marvel won't steal from a superior product? But this quantum realm is way better than crappy CGI backdrops. It's like a dystopian Amsterdam red light district times 1,000. And they unsuccessfully chase Daisy, but are blocked by massive crowds of angry people, and there's a bunch of fungus, but it's alright, because they, just like the audience, are so blown away by this set that they just have to look around dumbstruck. That's right, they're in the Bronx.
Where are we?
I don't know. Maybe we got knocked unconscious for 100 years and we woke up in Manhattan of the future.
Maybe the Bronx is today.
We cut over to Dennis Hopper, the big bad boy, hamming it up as Koopa with his lady friend, talking about his ultimate evil plan with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. I must get the stone so I can combine our universe with Earth's. That's right, the multiverse. Quite frankly, I think the entirety of Marvel Phase 4 was stolen from this movie. Also, he has this fun little quirk about washing his hands and never wanting anyone to touch him, because why not? Character building. So Dumb and Dumber show up, and they got the princess, but they lost the stone, so we get the best line of all time. Plumber alert.
Plumber alert.
So Mario and Luigi are palling around the city, they're eating bugs, they're trying to figure out what the hell to do with the rest of their lives now that they're trapped here. And after a few old lady assaults, the stone finally gets stolen by a body-positive black queen in red spiky leather, who escapes on rocket boots. And yes, I just said that whole last sentence. Yes, we are not in Kansas anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, Mario and Luigi are very bummed, but they quickly get arrested due to the plumber alert by some cops who look like some kind of cross between the village people and Nazi Gestapo. And at the Bronx police station, they are interviewed and booked by some kind of John Q. cop, but distractingly, the scene is made so much better by the unexplainable presence of this Christmas Story fragile leg. And then they're stuffed into little 12 Monkeys prison boxes and end up chatting with their fellow street busking buddy, Toad. And by the look on Mario's face, you know he's been in this situation before. It's another deep cut. It's another layer to that wild childhood that made him the level-headed man he is today. That's good movie making, folks. And so Toad tells them that the fungus is spread throughout the city and it's actually some kind of de-evolution form of their old king, or as I like to say, the Duke of New York.
I can't hear you.
You are the Duke of New York. You're a number one.
But the current ruler of the Bronx is King Koopa, who promptly brings our heroes into this creepy industrial lab, and what we are going to have shortly is a childhood memory that still traumatizes me to this day. There's really nothing that disturbs me more than the concept of lobotomy, far more than the meaningless murder porn we have in basically every modern movie and TV show. So he introduces them to the de-evolution machine, and it's this way too realistic looking industrial horror device that forcibly transforms a sentient being into an earlier state. So basically, it's a lobotomy. And poor Toad, while we've had a short time with him, has come off as a very nice guy. He is restrained and stuck into this machine, and he has his brain melted. And it's not as bad as the Dark Crystal.
Yes, and now the beam will rid you of your fears, your thoughts, your vital essence.
But still, it bothers me a lot. Meanwhile, our Princess Daisy is thrown into Koopa's harem of very attractive, scantily clad young women, which also includes Mario's Brooklyn Guma, who's making lighthearted and sexually charged comments about the situation.
There's this guy, his name is Koopa, and he's looking for this princess. I guess none of us here fit the bill.
Munchausen syndrome, am I right? So Daisy gets escorted to this private suite by Koopa's girlfriend, played by Fiona Shaw, who is a criminally underrated actress who ends up being an immersive linchpin in just about anything she's in. You might recognize her recently from Andor. And what follows is a really bizarre scene with a strange tonal shift. There are these violins kind of bittersweetly blazing in the background, and Fiona just knocks that shit out of the park. It's like she's channeling Glenn Close in Dangerous Liaisons.
Listen to me. I don't care whose daughter you are. Koopa thinks you're the only one who can merge the dimensions. I've waited too long to let all this slip away. All right.
War.
Princess Daisy also meets Yoshi, the royal pet, in a very well done piece of animatronics, And Koopa creepily comes out and lays out some more insidious backstory. And then we're on to book 3. And unfortunately, that's kind of where the movie starts getting bad. Mario and Luigi escape and go on, kind of like the 2023 Mario, a 20-minute car chase, and there's lots of explosions and silly action. And while Alan Silvestri's score is keeping it poppin', this is where the movie really starts to lose its luster. After the chase ends, the movie just comes to a screeching halt. It's been about 45 minutes, and the idea faucet that has blown off our faces has run dry. And we aren't really going to get any new ideas, no new concepts, and most importantly, we're not going to get any new set pieces. We've been given this sandbox to play in, and we're going to spend the rest of the movie here. For the most part, outside of a few interesting scenes, all that we're left with is the story, dialogue, and characters, and they're trying to hold this gigabeast of a film up, and they just can't. Coincidentally, this loss of momentum is accompanied by the appearance of Dumb and Dumber, who have been evolutioned up into some kind of insufferable grad students, and somehow they come off as even more lame. Mario and Luigi find Big Bertha pimping it out at a Bronx nightclub where everyone's doing some kind of bad version of Thriller. And Mario puts on that Bob Hoskins working class charm that never fails in any movie he's in and gets that stone back. And some cops chase him, and they go here and they go there, mainly traveling by garbage truck or sewer. And they get themselves 2 shiny pairs of jump boots and the classic Mario outfits, and we are ready to rock. But sadly, rocking in this case means yet more silly and soulless action sequences. It's like we've transformed back into Mario 2023. They dance with some Koopas, Daisy gets some raw meat and meets her fungus father, they rescue the girls, Koopa orders some fast food.
Pterodactyl tail on that?
Yes. Dino, lizard, hold a mammal, no worms, and spicy.
We go down this ice water slide with this really bad rock music playing. The oily mob boss turns into a chimpanzee, and the crowd laughs about it for a strange and awkward amount of time.
Monkey!
Scapelli?
Mario says, "Trust the fungus."
Plumber, trust the fungus.
And then they turn Dennis Hopper into a cool-looking dinosaur, and everybody lives happily ever after. For some inexplicable reason, the fungus turns into Lance Hendrickson, and then we get the most forced, random sequel bait ending scene in history.
What's wrong?
You're never gonna believe this.
I believe it.
Spoiler alert, there was no sequel. So looking at the big picture here, by the way, kudos to Bob Hoskins, because he is Kino in everything he touches, especially considering he's on the record giving this movie and its production the sickest burn in filmmaking history, okay? And I quote,
"The worst thing I ever did? Super Mario Brothers. It was a fucking nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own agent told them to get off the set. Fucking nightmare, fucking idiots."
And he was proven right. The only thing that this dream team of directors had done before was the Max Headroom on MTV, which is remembered much more for the image of his face than the actual content. And poor Rocky and Annabelle, which are their names, were basically banished to the Netherverse and were never seen in Hollywood again. I would say it's the last time anyone put a no-name in charge of a major studio project, but then Marvel Phase 4 happened. They're both now well into their late 60s, so it makes me wonder if in the future they'll play this movie at their respective funerals. That could be fun. John Leguizamo, I've never quite got that one right. Despite the movie being the critical disaster that it was, he credits it as his big break into the mainstream. And I agree, for 4 or 5 years, he showed up in a ton of stuff, from Romeo and Juliet to Wong Fu, and then the ultimate 90s guilty pleasure Spawn, where he plays Violator. Then, at least in my memory, he just kind of disappeared for like 20 years, and then one day showed up as Aurelio in John Wick, and people remembered he could act again.
Aurelio speaking.
Lately, I think his biggest achievement is complaining that Mario should be voiced by a Latino actor because I guess it's been so long he forgot that he was playing in Italian. Samantha Mathis as our lovely Princess Daisy looks great and seems to have some good chemistry with Luigi, but in terms of acting prowess, falls a bit short. I'll just let this line speak for itself.
Oh, Princess, it's not too late. We've got to stop her.
All right.
Looking at her Wikipedia age, she clearly kept working after this, but to be honest with you, it seems like a long list of bit parts I don't remember her from much else, which is a sad thing. Dennis Hopper, of course, is just being Dennis Hopper here, much like Jack Black is just being Jack Black in the 2023 edition. Both come out of this the same as they always do, as badasses. So what do I think? I think that I choose the 1993 Mario movie to spend eternity with, and it's not even close. For all the misery and insanity that watching this movie every single day for the rest of my life would cause, it's not close. For all of its faults of overstaying its welcome and trying to carry itself with a lackluster script and kind of constantly swinging back and forth between a kid's movie and a weird and disturbing dystopian future, but importantly, I think it's a superior product. It's got heart, it's got creativity, it's got a ton of creativity. It's got Alan Silvestri, and it's got some of those decently thought-provoking dark scenes and ideas that are needed to make a great kids movie, if not a great movie in general. And most importantly, it's got Bob Hoskins. And at least we'll always have that first 45 minutes. Certainly cannot say the same for the new Mario movie, a movie that can be summarized as equal parts formulaic, playing it safe, empty, and completely reliant on member-berry callbacks. I have no desire to see it again. I struggled skipping through it just to write the synopsis portion of this video. Now, and this is really scary to think about, maybe 20 years from now, modern movies will have become so trash and politically correct and bereft of originality that I'll go back and watch 2023 Mario and it'll come off as the next Citizen Kane. You know, who knows? But big surprise, it made $1 billion. And that makes me hopeful that in the inevitable Nintendo Cinematic Universe, since everything must be a franchise now, does much better and much more with its next project, which I think will undoubtedly be The Legend of Zelda. Luckily for us, they can just literally copy over the Ocarina of Time plot, and right out of the gate, it would be a far better cinematic experience. So thank you for joining me on this adventure, and even though it was a lot of work, I had fun making this video, and if you're still here watching, do me a favor, leave a comment below. It really encourages me to make more, and I'm lonely, and I'm vain. So, have a good day, have a good night. See you guys later.